Everyone, please welcome Allie Barath.
How confident would you say you are on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, how confident would you be if I placed you in a math or science classroom? I know for me, that number drops significantly. And if you said the same thing, you're not alone. You might be a victim of the confidence gap. Hi, I'm Allie Barath, a 2-year junior from Ithaca Dorm, and I'm here today to talk about the confidence gap between men and women and how it affects women instead. I'm going to be talking about my experience as well as how and why this happens and what we can do about it. I grew up with 2 brothers. They're twins and 2 years older than me. And because we're so close in age, we did the same things, played the same sports, and we're each other's built-in playmates. And because they're older than me, I always thought that they were super cool. So, like any annoying younger sibling would, I followed them around and I did exactly what they did. And in simple terms, I grew up a tomboy. I wore basketball shorts and sweatshirts to school every day. I hated makeup and dolls and the color pink, and I hung out with a lot of guys in school. But things started to change around 6th and 7th grade, when instead of wanting to be myself, I wanted to be pretty. I felt the confidence in my masculine personality plummet as I grew insecure of myself, not only physically, but mentally. And I looked around at the guys in my grade and the guys that I was friends with, and I only saw their confidence rise. And it was terrifying to me. I thought I was alone, but it turns out that I wasn't alone. Because between the ages of 12 and 13, boys' confidence soars, leaving them 27% more confident than girls their age. Even if these girls weren't tomboys exploring their femininity for the first time like I was, they're at an age where they start seeing the pressure to look and act perfect coming from all directions. Between the ages of 12 and 13, the percentage of girls who say they're not allowed to fail increases by 150%, and 3 in 4 teenage girls worry about failing, and I am one of them. So, why does this happen? One of the reasons for this confidence gap is because young girls are shielded from making mistakes in comparison to boys the same age, which has a lot of negative consequences later in life, like how girls respond to feedback. Girls are much more likely to negatively respond to feedback than boys are, and think that this failure is a direct result of their intelligence. On the other hand, guys respond to feedback much more positively, and they use it to better themselves, and they think it isn't a direct correlation to their ability, but rather a fixable issue. So, young girls grow up terrified of failure. The second reason why this happens is called the stereotype effect. And if you don't know what this stereotype is, it says that girls are inherently worse at math and science related subjects than boys are, and that they underperform in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, if a girl believes in this stereotype, she is much more likely to see a failed test grade or a missed problem as a direct result of her ability, and she'll learn to believe this stereotype. And she'll know and she'll believe that the boy sitting next to her will always be better than her in this math or science classroom. And even if a girl doesn't believe in these stereotypes, it's one that can cause a lot of stress and pressure in their academic career, and it can even make them feel like they don't belong in that math or science classroom. And if a girl is confident in her math and science ability, it makes her so terrified of failure because she's so determined to beat the odds and succeed that she feels like she can't mess up. And she's held back from releasing her true potential in fear that if she makes one mistake, she'll be seen that she's not supposed to be there, or she's not like able to be in that society at all. So, I've experienced this confidence gap not only in myself, but in many others around me, especially in the language that's used in the classroom. If I'm sitting in math class and the guy sitting next to me ask me what I got for a question. I'm much more likely to say, I got this answer, which I think is right, but I'm not really sure, so just let me know what you got when you get the answer, please. Or, if we got different answers for a question, I'd be much more likely to say, I know I'm probably the one that's wrong, but let me know what you did, because I'm sure I messed up somewhere, so just let me know. And how unconfident does that sound? And at first, I thought it was just my low confidence when it comes to math, until I started looking around. And I noticed that the girls in my classes are much more likely to be unsure or unconfident of themselves in comparison to guys. So, this is a direct correlation to the confidence gap, which makes more than 3 times as many high school boys believe they would be successful in a STEM career as high school girls. So what can we do about it? And what did I do about it? Once I noticed that this was happening and that this was an issue, I immediately wanted to change it. I was in my classes and I noticed that these incredibly smart and incredibly talented girls were not speaking up in class, and they were not sharing their intelligence with the rest of the world, and I thought that they really needed to. And then I started to realize that I was one of these girls too, and I was holding myself back. So I took the pit of fear in my stomach that happens when you want to raise your hand or talk in class, and I used it to encourage me, and I acted in spite of this fear. And I raised my hand, and I answered the question, and I gave my opinion. And I noticed that after one girl gives their opinion, multiple will follow through. And that if I were to share my answers and my experience, that it would make other girls feel much more comfortable to share theirs as well. I acted not for myself, but for others in this situation, and I took the fear in my stomach and I pursued in spite of it, and I noticed that I made a great difference in the classroom. And Russ Harris puts this perfectly in his quotation when he says that genuine confidence is not the absence of fear, but rather a transformed relationship with fear. When guys have this fear in their stomach when they go to try something new, they're encouraged to keep going despite of this fear and to act in spite of it, and they're encouraged to ignore it. And that is why they grow up so much less afraid of failure than girls. And girls, we're told to listen to it. We're told to let it happen and to let it stop us from reaching our true potential. So what you have to do and what you have to realize is that the fear is never going to go away. You have to learn to listen to it, but to not let it stop you from trying and from raising your voice and from speaking up in class. So the first thing you can do is to alter your relationship with fear. Know that it will always be present, but that you should act in spite of it. And you should not let it stop you from trying or from speaking up or sharing your thoughts in class. And the second thing you should do is to never let your self-doubt control you. I know it can be terrifying to speak up or say anything in class. I know, trust me, but failure is inevitable, and you have to know that failure only brings you successes, that you can only learn from your failure. And do not let that stop you from trying. Third, remember to embrace your femininity in the classroom. You don't have to diminish yourself or your abilities because of your gender. You don't have to let society tell you what you can and can't do, especially when it comes to your education. And last, remember to celebrate the women around you. I know that there can be such an underrepresentation of women in STEM that it feels like you have to compete with the women in your class in order to feel like you belong or you deserve that spot to be there. But I promise you that their intelligence does not undermine your ability, and that you need to uplift them and you need to stand with them and not against them, because you together are defeating the odds. And to everyone in this room, education is power. Do not let society tell you what you can and can't do, and do not let it stop you from getting the education you deserve. Education is a weapon in your hand, and I hope you all use it. Thank you.